Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Bills Roundtable, live Mondays and Thursdays. A special edition for this Monday's episode because typically we're recapping what we witnessed on the previous weekend, but the Bills are set to face off against the Atlanta Falcons here in just a couple of hours. And we saw the rest of the league go at it for NFL Week 6, and I think all of us are hopeful that Buffalo can get back on the right track. Z-Bot, what's going on with you, my friend?
Yep. Mondays do not feel like game day, so it hasn't really hit me yet that the Bills are playing tonight. It's a very weird feeling, especially with the game mattering as much as it does here in Week 6. Bills win tonight. They're still in sole first place of the AFC East. They lose, and things get awfully interesting. So this is a big game, maybe bigger than we thought it was going to be when you first saw it on the schedule. Any primetime game is huge, but I think tonight's just a little bit bigger, especially coming off of a loss as well. How are the Bills going to respond to that? So I got to get in gear. I got to slap myself around a bit and wake up here because Mondays don't feel like game day. It was weird watching football all day yesterday without Buffalo. We got to do it again next week with no Buffalo at all for Week 7. So hopefully a W tonight into the bye, and we're feeling pretty good about the Bills heading into the second half of the season.
And so I really enjoyed your commentary on the Broncos-Jets game.
Holy, and I was being kind. I think the New York Jets, if you just do the opposite of whatever they do, in all likelihood, you'll end up with a winning record. I think that's one of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen in my life at any level of the sport. And somehow they almost won the football game, Dan. How?
Dude, you know what, man? It's tough being on that side of the AFC East. It's the Bills and the Patriots, and then miles of shit and the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. Things don't always appear better on the other side. Kev, how you doing, man? What's up?
I mean, bigger game than you would wanted it to be. I mean, it's going to be Monday Night Football game, so it's going to be large in general. But 22-6 coming off of a loss is McDermott's one of his strengths. We talk about his negatives all the time. We talk about some of the problems that this team has. 22-6 coming off of a loss. Obviously hasn't lost coming off of a bye. So the Bills could really stack some meaningful statistics here. And I think the other one is that he's 12-4 against rookie quarterbacks. Yes, Michael Penix isn't a rookie quarterback, but his record is just as good against guys who don't have at least 15 starts. So honestly, like there's a lot that McDermott can do to affect this game more than the usual game, let's say, against somebody else. But I think there's a lot he can do in this game where the team's missing their receiver too, and you can dial up anything you need to stop Bijan Robinson. I think he's going to have an opportunity to do that while decising coverage and doubling up Drake London. So it's going to be a good one to talk about.
So the funny thing is that I just ended up taking a Twitter, and I do believe this. I think that both running backs are about to have an absolute game tonight, right? Because some of our worries of the Buffalo Bills being terrible at tackling, it has all yet been confirmed that the Buffalo Bills are the highest team in the NFL for missed tackle percentage at 29.71%. But there's the Atlanta Falcons as the 8th worst team in the NFL at 23.85%. I don't think this Buffalo Bills team is going to go into the top 5 of NFL Week 6 opponents, etc. But I would like to see some type of improvement because a player like Bijan Robinson, he's going to shed some tackles, right? He's probably going to get some yards after contact. Same thing with Drake London, a prototypical big-bodied type wide receiver. I'm kind of nervous about that matchup, especially with how Benford has been playing. But like one of the keys for me, and this may be a cop-out, but whatever team can get their shit together in the tackling category, I think is going to win this one. I genuinely believe it. I don't see Michael Penix stretching the field. I don't see him really having many attempts deep downfield. I think Buffalo is almost going to dare Michael Penix to go on ahead and try and beat them downfield. It's get your damn tackles in order because I have to see this improve 5-6 weeks down the road. Z-Bot, further thoughts on this?
Well, it's a great point you make because Bijan Robinson is the best in the league at getting yards after first contact. So if the Bills statistic you just showed shows up again tonight and the Bijan Robinson that showed up to this point post-contact shows up, that's not going to spell for a good outing defending the run on Monday Night Football. Interestingly enough, though, you look at Bijan Robinson, he's the marquee player on this team, but the Falcons have been better throwing the ball than they have been rushing. So I look at this evening's game, and I wonder if the goal is going to be more run heavy because you know that that's a Bills weakness defensively, or if they throw the Bills for a surprise and try to air it out more. I have a feeling McDermott's banking on this team wanting to run the football, knowing that they have Bijan Robinson. As Kevin mentioned, you're missing your wide receiver too tonight. Penix hasn't established himself as an elite quarterback yet. So you would think all the signs point towards running. Do they kind of do a 180, maybe based on how everyone's anticipating this game is going to be set up? Do they air it out more? That's what will be interesting. And if so, is Bijan Robinson not necessarily the focal point towards the victory tonight for the Falcons, but is it a Drake London, Michael Penix game? I mean, if I'm the Falcons here, I'd want to run the football. I think that that's your best chance to win tonight. Not only do I think you're going to be able to do it successfully, but I just think the less time you have Josh Allen slinging the ball around in the dome, the better chance you have to win this football game here. So, and then, back to the tackling point that you had made about the Bills obviously not being good and it really being almost bad. You're the worst in the league at it. I mean, well, how else can you put it? But the Bills are actually, the benefit here is that the Bills are far more multidimensional on offense than the Falcons are, which is interesting because you wouldn't think so with a dynamic running back like Bijan Robinson, who on any given Sunday could be the best running back in the league. I think we easily forget, especially coming off of a week where the Bills could not establish the run, that up until last week, there was a solid argument James Cook was playing the best running back in the NFL. So the point you made, Dan, is accurate. This could really be a running back show tonight, and whoever ends up having the better game on the ground could end up winning it. And we know, hey, look at James Cook is certainly capable of outperforming Bijan Robinson in this game. And I know the Bills are going to want to run the ball. Like I said, especially after last week, they got away from it. They couldn't establish it early, and that really hurt them. It really did. I think the Bills' inability to get that going showed its colors. You saw in the first drive in the second half, though, last week when they did get the run game going, they had their best drive of the evening. The Bills got to come out in this one and start better. There's no other way to put it. They have got to get a better start to this football game than last week. It is what killed them. They scored 17 points in the second half. They left so many opportunities in the first, and I think that's what wound up losing the football game for them. They need to come out better tonight on Monday Night Football.
And so sort of how I look at Bijan Robinson on the Atlanta Falcons, it's not that good of a run offense. I compare it to Saquon Barkley being on the New York Giants. And everyone's trying to make us think like we're playing a team like Saquon Barkley versus the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. So I think you might be onto something. Kev, thoughts on that as we welcome Jake live from the tailgate, by the way.
Hell yeah.
Jake, what up? Kev, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I don't know how well you guys got me. You hear me well?
Yeah, man, loud and clear. We're going to get to you here in just a hot second, brother. We got you. Kev, what do you got, man? What do you got for us?
I think what's unique about running back versus running back tonight is the fact that you have the difference maker at the quarterback position. You have what can be conceived as the 32nd ranked EPA quarterback in Michael Penix versus number one. So ultimately, even if it comes down to a running performance, there are going to be moments and many moments where you're in 3rd and 7s, you're in 3rd and 8s. You need plays from your quarterback. I think they're limited there. The Bills do a really good job, number 1 EPA and number 2 DVOA against the tight end. I think they do a great job in the middle of the field this year for all their negatives on defense. That is one place that I think they focus on. I think Shaq Thompson's an upgrade to the coverage ability to cover someone like Kyle Pitts. But ultimately, it comes down to you have difference makers at the quarterback position. I just don't see it yet from Michael Penix outside of a decent performance against a Washington team without their starting quarterback. And against, to me, Trey Amos struggled, a guy that the Bills fans really wanted here in Buffalo over Maxwell Harrison. He had a horrible game against the Falcons. But other than that, it looks to me like I think that's the biggest difference makers right now. The Falcons lead the league in 3rd and 5.9, actually leads the league, or at least going into yesterday. So it leads the league in shortness of 3rd down. So they really need that today, in my opinion, because if they're in 3rd and longs, I just think they'll lose, even if it does turn into somewhat of a running back battle. They're going to lose there. And when we get to the other side, there's some vast differences I like to bring up when we talk about the Bills offense versus their defense. I know it ranks high, but there's definitely some places we can talk about, Dan.
For sure, man. I feel like that's the biggest point of conversation is what's this Bills defense going to look like against the Atlanta Falcons offense. But I assure you, there are plenty of mismatches from the Buffalo Bills offense to their defense. Let's tap into our friend Jake, who's in Atlanta right now. Jake, let me unmute you real fast, pal. Hopefully that works. Oh, he might be frozen. Jake?
Boots on the ground at Atlanta internet right now.
He's boots on the ground, man. Jake, what up?
It's
Hey,
quite
what up,
the
man? What's on your
atmosphere here
mind?
in Atlanta. As you can see, I'm going to spin the camera around for you. I mean, hey, Bills Mafia, takeover is in full effect. So I think it's a home crowd here on the road tonight. That is a major factor for the Buffalo Bills. Big time advantage when you have all these Bills fans everywhere. We're taking things off with fans of Buffalo tailgate. Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? What I want to see in this game, I want to see the Bills let James cook. We didn't see it enough last week. Let's see it this week. Last week, the Patriots did a great job swallowing it up. Hopefully the Bills are able to utilize James Cook to his full potential here tonight. That's what I'm looking for. Back in his homecoming. Remember, he used to play here as a Georgia Bulldog. He's going to look for the most of every opportunity here tonight. So, thank you.
That's what I'm talking about, Jake. We appreciate you, man. Have fun at that tailgate, brother. We'll see you on Thursday. Thank you for tapping in with us. Dude, my guy. The fourth host right there of the Bills Roundtable, boots on the ground, as Zebot just said. And he brings up a good point. James Cook has to be the answer this evening. I think that he is, right? Very, very undersized defense. Very undersized defense. I think that you could really utilize some of the size we have on the offensive line and mismatches all over the place, even between Keon Coleman, who more than likely might be across from Mike Hughes, and depending on what they do with A.J. Terrell. I'm not sure if Billy Bowman's going to play. He was questionable. We're still waiting on some other stuff. But even if he was out there, I love that matchup with Khalil Shakir. I don't know who's second up in the depth chart. I can't imagine that he's much better. Kev, thoughts on like guys that you really think are mismatches for this Atlanta Falcons defense?
I mean, in terms of the Bills versus the Falcons defense, there's many of them. Like, I think that there's a lot of mismatches. They don't stop the run either. You've brought it up. They do have some decent pass defense, but they've also played backup quarterbacks. We'll see how that amounts to. Their point. Where are they? Point. They're right next to the Bills in rush defense. So if you consider the Bills a bad rush defense, they're just as bad. But I think missing Billy Bowman, they're missing some reserve backups too. They're going to run into all sorts of depth issues. They run a ton of blitzing, number one in the league. That does not usually work against Josh Allen. That's not a good matchup against that style of player. So we'll see if they scale that back. But they do run zone 70% of the time, but they also play cover one 27% of the time. That's not a recipe for success against Josh Allen. So what will they do? Will they get out of their habits? Will they then dictate to the Bills, which is also something you never usually want to do? You stick with what you see other coaches do and do their own thing and do what they do best. It doesn't match. So we'll see if the Falcons defense can stop the run, because if they can, I do believe it's a long day for the Falcons defense. However, if they can finally stop the run for once, it may put them in the ability to blitz more, run some zone coverage behind it. Like I said, they run zone 70% of the time. Maybe they go to too high, but whenever they're in one high and in situations to where the Bills are winning first down, I don't see much without their nickel corner. I don't see much hope to stop the middle of the field at all. And they have undersized defensive linemen. The Bills are going to be able to run duo. They're one of the worst teams in the league against duo. It's a blocking scheme. I think Joe Brady has a lot of places to go today, as long as Josh Allen is in weight rhythm and is good Josh Allen, not throwing into double coverage when he has James Cook on a flat, or he had a running lane to maybe score a touchdown in the interception play. So as long as Josh stays dedicated, and last thing to remember, Josh Allen on offense, 12 rushing touchdowns inside in 9 games, over 1 touchdown rushing per game. Take the anytime touchdown because he runs indoor. Not he's going to go 400 yards rushing, but he goes in the red zone. And that's something he didn't do last week against the Patriots, in my opinion, when it was there and forced double coverage for no reason. I even like James Cook out in space against Ellis on the left flat route last week. Easy to say, but I don't think Josh had his best day yet last week. This week, he has a lot of ample opportunities to find middle of the field plays, to run duo, to run play action. There's a lot of big time things that Josh Allen could do today, especially if they're missing their slot corner and they're going to run cover 130% of the time. There's some mismatches here, guys, that the Falcons are going to have to adjust to and pray for turnovers.
So the 24th worst red zone defense in the NFL as well.
Not great.
They struggle in the red zone tremendously. I almost wonder if like that blitzing thing is truly
Number
not
one.
their identity, but was more so game script based off of the quarterbacks that like they've been playing for the past.
To compensate for their low D line play. They can't stop the run,
Yeah.
so they're run blitzing. They're light. I mean, their 4 tech is like 260 pounds. Not going to work against the Bills O-line. So we're going to see some interesting. They compensate with a run blitz, and they get some pressures. They played some bad teams. They got blown out by Carolina. They played a backup Washington team. We'll see what team shows up, but they need turnovers. They need to get turnovers, and that may be why they're coming after quarterbacks. They're trying to get the ball back for their offense to control the game.
And are the Carolina Panthers good? I don't know. Z-Bot, thoughts? Thoughts, man.
If you're playing the Dallas Cowboys defense, they're pretty damn good. I mean, that's for sure. Or apparently this Atlanta defense. I don't know what the Carolina Panthers are. We'll find out ourselves in a couple of weeks here. But, to the point Kevin was making there about Josh Allen running indoors, interestingly enough, we have seen Allen. We talked about this a little bit on the last episode. Allen has run more through the beginning of the season here than I think anybody would have guessed. They typically don't run him through the month of September into October, the last couple of seasons, the way that they used to early on in Josh Allen's career. It's a bit different now. Josh Allen's scrambling on nearly 1/5 of every time he takes a snap. So it's happening often, but it's happening with success because he already has over 200 yards rushing just on scrambles alone. And interestingly enough, the Falcons, they're allowing nearly 10 yards a scramble. So they're one of the worst defenses in the league at defending a mobile quarterback. They were able to get out without having to go up against Jaden Daniels in that Commanders game. So you'd have to think it would have been even worse if they were playing against him. So that's one thing to note here, too, is that even if they are able to get home on the pass rush, which we know that that's one of their stronger suits, not something I'm necessarily worried about just because of how great the Bills' offensive line has been in that department. But say that it does end up being something that is a factor in the game. Josh Allen's ability to move, I think, is going to be prolific in this game. You factor in being inside, going against the defense that has not been able to stop quarterbacks from getting yards on broken plays. That's a recipe for success for Josh Allen. You look at the last couple of games here, and, he had 45 rush yards against the Saints. He had 53 rush yards against the Patriots, and he's had at least 25 plus in every game. And he's running it at least his least amount of carries this year were 4 carries. I mean, he's doing 6-7 plus carries per game. His line right now is at 36.5, by the way, plus the anytime touchdown. I definitely think Allen's going to be running this evening. I like both those numbers. And I also like Josh Allen's legs to be a factor in this one for the Bills offense.
Man, you know what? We are hoping for a bounce back game, another 30 points type performance from this Bills offense. Strategically, I think we should do it on paper based off of what the Falcons struggle with and what this team does very well. I need to give a giant shout out to Picasso's Pizza. Folks, Picasso's Pizza, #1 pizza in the Western New York area. 4 great locations. If you are not in Western New York, highly recommend you go over to their website, picassospizza.net, where they are delivering nationwide. Simply just hit that nationwide button, then select what you would like to be delivered. It works great for gifts. It's solid for nostalgia in case you miss a taste of home and you are displaced from the Western New York area. Shout out to Picasso's Pizza for being a proud partner of this show. Now, one of the biggest storylines was the penalties that the Buffalo Bills have been stacking up for the past couple of weeks. It seems like that they've been well over 20 once you combine the New Orleans Saints game and then you also include the New England Patriots game. I try not to look into this too much. However, somebody on Twitter ended up dropping that the referee, maybe it was Kevin, maybe it was somebody else, where this referee that is assigned to this game, the Buffalo Bills are 8-3. So it sounds like he's going to be swallowing the whistle a bit more than Hockley, which is ideal. But you got to hope that Buffalo can get some type of disciplined football out there. You have to hope, because that's the only way that I envision us losing this game, is as if we pull a page out of the book for the past 2 performances and we go out there and we just absolutely screw ourselves pre-snap and at a full football field of penalty yards that we need to, sort of make up for. Thoughts on that, Z-Bot? Will this team show some sense of discipline tonight?
They better, because the Falcons are the least penalized football team in the NFL right now, believe it or not. The Bills have almost double the amount of penalties that the Falcons have through the first 5 weeks here. The Falcons have 21 total penalties, the Bills with 36. So if we're looking at a referee matchup tonight where he's swallowing the whistle as is, factor in that the Falcons aren't penalized much at all, well, maybe this is a game where we don't see 200 yards in penalties like we saw last Sunday night. Last night too on Sunday night, by the way, what a polar opposite week where the modern day Patriots, the Chiefs, were penalized 0 times last night on Sunday Night Football. The Lions penalized 4 times. So maybe we get a closer game to that than that of the Patriots-Bills game last week, where there was nearly 200 total yards of penalties amongst the two teams. You got to be disciplined, not just because it's conducive to winning football games, but because this team is better than that. That's not a McDermott-led team, and they were really solid with that up through the first couple of weeks, and it's kind of gotten away from them. This team is they have too much veteran presence on the offensive side of the ball, at least, to be doing this type of stuff. It's constantly getting yourself behind the sticks that's going to be putting yourself in position to lose to an inferior team. And oftentimes we've found the Bills getting themselves in 2nd and long or 3rd and long because of these penalties. And then that's almost a guarantee. It's almost a turnover in a way, some of these penalties. So if you're going up against a team that is not going to be committing many penalties based on their recent history here, it's even more crucial tonight. And like you said, Dan, it's one of those things. This is why, as much as the Patriots did earn that game last week, the Bills went out of their way with penalties and turnovers to even further allow an inferior team to have a good night and to win that football game. It's just basic stuff here. If you're going to turn the ball over and you're going to get whistles blown on you all night, well, yeah, you're going to let anybody stay in a football game with you. And in the game tonight where you should win, that's one way to allow the other team to steal one from you. So those are the two things I look to clean up. Hopefully Josh Allen, no forcing it tonight. We go back and watch that interception. I think that he knows that was not what he should have done on that play. I mean, it just goes without saying. So you hope to not only eliminate another pick from Allen, but 2 fumbles too. I can't imagine the Bills are fumbling it twice tonight. So let's hope they get back on track. There was a streak going into last week where they had won the turnover battle in what felt like the last 3 years straight here in terms of games. So let's see if we can get back on that track tonight, because those are the ways you lose football games: penalties and turnovers.
Thoughts on the penalty problem, Kev?
Here's the thing I'll say about that. The Falcons are going in, as Yvonne mentioned, the least penalized team. The Bills were that before the Saints game. They were the top of the league. So I think it changes quickly, especially in the early. They have a bye. It factors quickly. It can happen really quickly, as the Bills fans have been able to see 2 straight games. Now they're not. So I think it's all circumstantial. Do you have a total staff that likes to call a lot of penalties or not, and take over games? We saw Hockey League do it. I just think they got a decent ref assignment here with Sean Smith, a guy that does like to swallow the whistle a little bit in general. The home teams don't do as well with him. So there's definitely some things that you would think would kind of progress back to the mean of the first 3 weeks where they were really good with penalties. So we'll see which team do you get. Do you get the first 3 week penalties team, or do you get the last 2 weeks? But yeah, the Falcons will need those sort of help, maybe self-inflicted or not, but they need that kind of help in order to see a different way path to the finish line. So 60 minutes of football games, 100 yards of penalties really hurt you quickly. So ultimately, I'm feeling like that's not a trend yet, but this is the game that either says it's weeks 1 through 3 or it's weeks 4 and 5. And this is going to be the tiebreaker game to say Sean Smith doesn't really call these penalties a lot. So if they're still struggling here this week, I'm not sure what's going on here with that kind of issue, but I'm feeling okay as of right now going in. And did you guys see that? What was it, like the $200,000 bet that just went in on the Bills just a little while ago?
No, I did not.
Oh no, what is it?
Someone put
on
it
the line, on the spread.
Yeah, on the line.
Yeah, it's down to 3.5.
Excuse me, against the spread. Yep, against the spread.
Well, you know what, man? I would absolutely love to kick my feet up and actually watch, just an offensive clinic and just, sort of allow my blood pressure to take a break. And that would be ideal. But we did get the final injury report on Saturday, and I'm kind of interested to hear your guys' thoughts on a couple of things. Number one, Dalton Kincaid with an oblique injury. He was a limited participant throughout all of practice. I'm curious to see if you think that he is going to be out there. I heard something, I think it was from Thigh Doc, where he said, out of all oblique injuries that have happened from the Buffalo Bills in recent memory, anytime that was a designation on the report, that player missed the following game, with the exception of Stephon Diggs in 2020, and that was a playoff game. So sounds like he's not too high on him being able to play this evening. Even if he is, I mean, I couldn't see him being more than a glorified distraction. Is this going to hurt Buffalo's game script? I really don't think so. I think this is a James Cook Shakir type game, but thoughts on that, Kev? Status of Dalton Kincaid. Will he be out there? Talk to us.
Yeah, I think you have a guy that has really good rapport with Josh Allen. It's time to use him. You're paying him in Dawson Knox. I also like what Hawes can do a little bit more in the blocking game. So you shouldn't really lose anything anywhere. The biggest thing is he's a playmaker right now. I mean, he's a playmaker against man coverage, and they run 30% man coverage. And, with their high blitz rate, he could be a useful help in just a limited role. So I would love to see him in a limited experience, especially with a bye week coming up. I think you should play him for 25 to 30 snaps. So that's really what sticks out to me. I mean, everything else seems to be pretty cut and dry. You probably don't see Samuel. I mean, everybody else is listed as out or full. So even if he's in there and helping you out a little bit, just in receiving, I don't think you need to put him too much into different situations to where he's in too many running schemes. You can just use Hawes for that at this moment and Knox. So I do think it can affect it a little bit with what I believe to be a pretty good man beater right now. What he's able to do to help out Josh. In fact, he was still open for more yards, had one of the highest EPAs per play last week, better than Diggs, believe it or not. So I think that what he's able to do was impactful as a receiver one level. Even though he's not a receiver one, he is playing to the level of what we drafted him as a weapon. And he left a 75 to 100 yards on the field last week. So it will hurt. I mean, he is the Bills, one of their best players on offense. So, but I think Knox is more than capable. He has that great zone rapport with Josh Allen. Outside of that stupid fumble they had, still don't think it's an egregious play call, but fumbled, so it was bad. But ultimately, we're still waiting for some call-ups. Do they call up a tight end tonight, guys? That's it should have been already out by 4:45. Where they call it Poyer? Do they call it Phillips? We don't know where that should be a tell. If they call up a tight end, that's a given. If they don't, though, I don't know that they go with two tight ends. So we should know very shortly on the assignment of Dalton Kincaid, in my opinion. So we'll know pretty quickly what's going to happen here. And shout out to my guy Jarek in the comment section. Always has great knowledge. One of my favorite follows. Really good blitz. A really good, draft guy. Studies that pretty in depthly. And yeah, I mean, absolutely got your linebackers to flow against zone looks. That is key tonight. And I think the Bills commit to it. They're able to without the passing game being super strong. Z-Bot. I think they're going to be able in this running affair to be able to get it done, because when McDermott puts his mind to something, I do think it's better. And I think that's tonight. And he doesn't have to worry about a true QB1 like he has had to in a couple of these games this season.
Mm-hmm. And so the biggest storyline here, or from what I've been seeing from the sentiment, of Bills Mafia on X, people are all but manifesting that Poyer is going to get activated from the practice squad. And he's making his debut this evening since Hamlin ended up being added to the IR. I don't know whether or not that they do that. I'm not sure if maybe they end up actually making Jordan Hancock not a healthy scratch for the second time this season. I don't know.
Hancock, Dan. They got to play him.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Where is this injury report, by the way? Are they going to do it at the coin toss? Where is this thing?
And so I think it's an hour right before or something.
Hour and a half. You can list your starting players of your roster, which is 5:45. Yeah. You're supposed to have your elevations and if signings or elevations by 4:00. So I'm not. Maybe they didn't. I found it hard that they wouldn't have elevated someone with 2 IR players and the slight injuries that they have. They need a DT. Yeah. They have 3 on the roster right now. So at the very minimum, they need one. They need to call it Phillips or Mathis. They have to.
Yeah.
So
Zion's
don't have to do anything at
out,
safety,
right?
though. They don't have to do anything at safety.
So Zion's tapped out.
Yes. Yep.
So we can't elevate him anymore. No. So he's a lot.
Phillips probably.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, look at that, man. We'll be seeing some Jordan Phillips action. Surprisingly enough, we did see Damar Hamlin go on the IR, and many people would look at that and just say, "Hey, you know what? great. Those are our 2 spots for the suspended players. They are going to be back at this point. But then, of course, like this trade deadline is approaching, and Brandon Beane typically makes some moves here and there. Are we under the impression that he could potentially be bringing in some help at the deadline, or not so much? Z-Bot, what do you got?
I don't know. I'm not convinced, really.
No.
I'm not. No, nor do I think that there's anybody that's going to be a difference maker. That's what this all comes down to me. It's always a matter of, oh, should we do this or should we do that? Is it going to make a difference? And I don't think so. I don't see anybody out there on the defensive side of the ball that's going to come in and dramatically overhaul this Buffalo Bills defense at this given time. You spent your entire offseason and all your assets almost on this defense. This is what you're working with now. So put it to use. You got Maxwell Hairston hopefully coming, or eligible to come off the IR here at some point. What are you going to do with him? We just talked about Jordan Hancock. What's the plan there? You got 2 players coming off a suspension here after the bye. So I'm not going and making this drastic move defensively. And then offensively, I just don't think that the 3rd highest scoring team in the NFL, averaging 30-plus points a game, is going to go get a receiver that's going to take them to 40 points per game. When they barely utilize their receivers to a degree that other teams do as well. I mean, you're watching the Bucs yesterday, teams like that. It's just not what the Bills are doing, yet they're scoring awfully similar points on a week in, week out basis. And just because the offense had a bad night last week doesn't mean you got to go out and pick up anybody off the street to get this offense to get where you feel like it needs to be. So I look at this right now. Yeah, maybe Beane brings in someone on either side of the ball, whoever that may be. But I do not think whoever it is, nor if they bring anybody else in general, is going to make an impact. I just don't. I don't see there being any move out there to me that winds up changing the trajectory of this football game post-bye here. I just don't see it.
No, not at all. Except for when Kevin put out on X a couple of days ago that AJ Brown would only cost $750,000.
Well, now we're talking a whole day. That's a whole different conversation. If we want to have that conversation, I'll have that conversation.
So I've been a big proponent of that. I don't think this wide receiving room is bad. I think that we're completely fine. But I would be intrigued if, to stop him from going to the New England Patriots, I would hope Brandon Beane would end up giving a better, more handsome deal rate to Howie Roseman. I mean,
play some defense. Yeah, right. Yeah. Play some defense on it. Also, to Z-Bot's point, Rashid Shaheed, what's he going to – sure. I just don't know what he's going to come in and do in this offense. He has some moments, and I just ultimately don't know what you get from him. But, yeah, if you're going to go get somebody, it's got to be a top-level guy. It can't be the ghost of Amari Cooper's past. It's got to be somebody that can come in and do something effective and be a receiver 1, because we do not need receiver 3s. I'd argue you don't even need receiver 2s. You need somebody that can come in and be that guy. And if that's, to your point, AJ Brown, makes a ton of sense to be helpful on this roster. Same thing at corner. Don't come in and bring in someone that's going to compete with Trey White. You need to come in and bring a stud in. Okay. Then I think you can make a difference. But there's no reason to trade these 3rd and 4th round picks for guys that aren't going to start over Maxwell Harrison if he's back. If you're going to make a move like that over your 1st round pick, it needs to be a guy that can come in and change a game. Same thing goes for linebacker. Maybe that's the position, just because you can't trust Dorian Williams and Matt Milano. Maybe, who knows? No. Maybe you go and get a linebacker like Baltimore did a few years ago. But other than that, I just don't think you can make a move to Z-Box points. It's got to be a guy that can be a guy. It cannot be rotational dude. It cannot be the same receiver 3. It can't even be a rotational corner. It's got to be a guy that's a premier DN1, Jeffrey Simmons, or such, that level of player. Otherwise, just leave it alone. It's not going to work.
Yeah. $750,000 against the cap, though, is attractive.
I think they trade him. I do. I don't know where.
I mean, I'm demanding a trade after Thursday night if I'm him. That was unbelievable. They gave the Jets a run for their money for worst offensive performance of the week, playing their counterpart out of East Rutherford there. That was unbelievable. And, I was telling my buddy, I'm watching the game. I don't understand. I've watched Jalen Hurts outplay Patrick Mahomes twice in a Super Bowl. Twice. He was the best player on the field. But for some reason, on any given Sunday, that guy can be one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I don't understand what's going on in Philadelphia. It makes zero sense that they're capable of having a performance like they did on Thursday night. And damn well A.J. Brown has had enough of it, because that's the guy whose talent is being completely wasted on a team that, frankly, doesn't necessarily need him, nor really utilizes him if they did need him. They needed him the other night. Where was it? I mean, and I also watched Jalen Hurts throw a ball 20 yards over Devontae Smith's head in that game, too. I mean, it's got to be awfully frustrating right now to be on an offense that seems to be stuck in 1982 and you're as good as you are. So I'd love it.
It's got to be with the injuries on the offensive line. And so they've actually scored more points than they did in 2024 through their first 6 games.
The thing is, though, that's what's weird is last year they were bad to start the year. Remember, they were not bad, but they weren't good. They were better to start the year this year. They are such a strange team. Then all of a sudden they hit that power boost last year where you're like, wait a minute, is this the best team I've ever seen? So they're a tough team to figure out.
Well, I mean, hey, I'm super interested to see what they look like when they come into Buffalo on week 17. But all right, guys, we are just a couple of hours away from this Monday Night Football matchup. Can the Buffalo Bills get it right? Let's go around the table and give our final score predictions, a hot take. Let's go. I'm going to start off with Kevin on this one.
I think they can. I think there's plus matchups across the field. They don't have a difference maker in Drake May, who was able to make the play off script when it mattered, when the Bills pushed him off script, when the Bills got pressure on the interior, when I thought they had him rattled, he was able to make the plays that mattered. And then you saw it this week where the games were a little tumultuous against the Saints. And they started complaining about penalties their way, which I thought this was pretty interesting. I saw Colby over there messing about. He was mad at us, but then I saw him yelling about penalties on his feed to all the Bills.
You're like,
oh, you don't say when it's going against your team. When it's going against your team, it matters. I
saw him yelling at Bills fans. I was laughing at the Bills fans and then Colby too. So I thought that was funny. But this game, I think the Bills, it's a get right game. 23-6 coming off of a loss. McDermott's good against young and inexperienced quarterbacks. I think there's enough there to stop Bijan Robinson. I got the Bills 30-17.
30-17. Oh.
I think they cover.
And so I'm going to have to make a variation on my score. Kev, you just ripped it completely off of my mind.
Was that what yours? 30-17?
Wow. Yeah, I was going to do that.
Good score then.
Yeah, no. It's solid. Z-Bot, thoughts?
Well, you know how much respect I gave Drake May, by the way, last week for his performance against the Bills, and he had another amazing performance yesterday. I say all that to say I have never seen a win over Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints be as celebrated as that of the New England Patriots yesterday. So congrats to them, because you would have thought they beat the 07 Patriots, the 07 version of themselves, or the prime version of Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce or whatever. That's why the Bills have to win tonight. The Bills lose tonight, and the voices you've been hearing out of the state next to the one I'm currently in Massachusetts, the voices you've been hearing are going to be seismic, because they are going to be in the lead of the East, and they are looking good. I understand it was the Saints, and I understand last week the Bills didn't have their best game, but that doesn't matter. They're getting it done way more than they were capable of doing last year. This is why tonight, going into the bye, think about it like this. You're going to let that talk build up. You're going to let all of that go down for 2 weeks while you're not playing. Can't happen. The Bills have got to win tonight, and I think they do. I think that they bounce back off of a loss that they know they didn't give their best effort in. They weren't giving their best showing in. Kevin mentioned it earlier. In the Josh Allen era, 24-8 off of a loss, undefeated off the bye. You are set up in a prime spot here, and you cannot drop this one. So I got the Bills back to 30 again, like Kevin and you guys think. I think they're back to 30 points again.
30.
Yeah. So I think it's I'm right around with you guys. I don't think it's going to be a 33-20 game that feels closer than that, but the Bills pull away late. Hot take. I think Josh Allen has 50 plus rush yards in this game. I think he uses his legs to the Bills' advantage.
I like that. So I think whatever Bills fans think of the Buffalo Bills defense, I think that the Atlanta Falcons defense is basically the same, if not worse. I think the Bills' red zone defense is far better than that. When it comes into the Bills' offense, man, like you were looking at an absolute mismatch for what they like to do. It's a lot of man coverage. That's what Josh Allen is against that team. I think that he will be good on the ground, like Z-Bot just said. I think that them being undersized, I think that they are going to get overpowered by a lot of our run blocking schemes. I think James Cook is going to do very well. I think that Bijan Robinson is going to have a really good game. And so I think that he'll probably have over 100 all-purpose. I just see them struggling tremendously in the red zone. So give me 30-17. I would love to see Mitchie Biscuits in the fourth. But at the end of the day, right, let's just hope we get to 5-1 somehow. Because if we somehow lose this game, I may be taking a bye as well.
And by the way, you watched yesterday, back to earth for everybody, and the Chiefs are back to where exactly you thought they'd be. But you're watching the defense of the Colts get annihilated. You're watching the Chargers, who had to pull off the play of the year to beat the Dolphins. So, yeah, 5-1 right now is massive. You got to get it done in the spots that you should, because really, like, it's the Chiefs once again, and a whole lot of, like, who cares right now. So it means a lot to stack these wins currently.
That is indeed it, folks. It's going to have to do it for the Bills roundtable. I need to hop onto the AFC East roundtable momentarily.
Oh boy.
I know. But, I mean, luckily we have two of the representatives are down in the dumps on their teams. One is 0-6.
What else is new? Give them my best.
One is 1-5, and I will be having a conversation with Colby about him just having the audacity of complaining about officiating. All right. We will certainly have that conversation. But, guys, let's go around the table and let all the people know what you're up to this evening, because I'm sure that they are going to be really looking for some Bills coverage either during and or after. Kevin, what do you got going on?
Just going to enjoy this game. You can follow for all my hot takes, my analytics. I see Dan starting to steal some of my analytics on me.
Damn it, Dan.
Man.
Dirty Dan, the bandit.
Bro,
I see him over there tweeting EPA per DB and all types of other stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll be live tweeting this one with some emotional reactions on the guise of Nate Geary. So, you know, I'll put it out there. My eye test stinks. It's a lot worse than my analytics. So we'll see what it looks like live. But I think the Bills will get right in this game. And ultimately, I think it's going to be a good one. They got to get right going into the bye, guys.
It's FTN and the Sumer bot, man. Listen, you created a monster.
Oh, you had
I've been obsessed with it. Z-Bot, what do you got for the people?
Yeah, get the double box going while you're already tuning in the AFC East roundtable. Add the second box into your screen. Buffalo Fanatics 5:30.
Yes,
we'll be talking Bills Falcons, and then tonight 5-1. Get it done, baby. Monday Night Football. Looking forward to it.
Get it done, guys. We appreciate you tuning in. We will be back on Thursday to unpack this game and sort of maybe give you a preview for the bye week. Hopefully we see a couple of players added back to this roster, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
Go Bills.